Wolverine had a son that he never knew about, and he's not just a mutant, he's a problem. Join me on day 17 of my Superhero Pride Month challenge, and let's talk nerdy about the claw-slicing Dark Avenger, Daken. Daken made his first comic book appearance in Wolverine Origins issue number 10, and he's the son of Wolverine and his Japanese wife Itsu back in 1946. And due to superhero shenanigans, Wolverine had to leave Itsu behind, and unfortunately Itsu was murdered by the Winter Soldier who was trying to draw Wolverine out of hiding. Itsu's body was then found by a mutant warlord named Romulus, who sliced open Itsu's womb and pulled out the still alive baby Akihiro. Akihiro was then left on the doorstep of a wealthy couple who for the longest time wanted to have a baby of their own but never could. Wish granted. But throughout Akihiro's childhood, he was mistreated by other children and even the servants of his household, all of them calling him Daken, which is a slur for someone who is of mixed race. In Akihiro's case, he's half Japanese and half Canadian. All this harsh treatment plus his adopted mother's indifference towards him caused Akihiro to have a cold personality. And honestly, that's putting it lightly. As he became a teenager, his mutant ability started to develop, specifically his pheromone powers. And because Akihiro had no control over this power, this caused everyone around him to mimic whatever mood that he was in. So if he was angry, everybody else angry too. His adopted mother believed Akihiro to be cursed, and she just went off on him, telling him that she never loved him and that she was pregnant with a real son. And worried that he was going to lose his place in the family, Akihiro did the only thing that made sense to him in that moment, which was murder the baby. Like I said earlier, a cold personality was putting it lightly. Akihiro's adopted father, the only one who actually treated him with any kindness, disowned Akihiro after he murdered the baby and tried to expel him from the family back in the woods behind the house. But before he can leave, Akihiro's adopted mother came out of the house with a rifle bayonet and tried to kill him. And in response to this attack, he accidentally extended his claws, killing his mother. And instead of trying to hurt Akihiro, his adopted father instead committed suicide. This is a superhero rule times 1,000. And after causing the death of his entire adopted family, the mutant Romulus appeared before Akihiro once again, being like, "Oh yeah, you're good to go now." And he took Akihiro in. Akihiro abandoned his birth name and instead took on the name that everyone has been calling him for years, Daken. That's a depressing origin story. Waterloo break. So Daken is a mutant with similar abilities to his biological father Wolverine. So like him, he has peak human strength, superhuman stamina, agility, and reflexes. He can regenerate, which allows him to also live for a very long time. And he has superhuman senses. Now an obvious difference between Daken and Wolverine is Daken's claws. Instead of having the 3 claws come out of his knuckles, he has only 2 of them coming out of his knuckles, with the 3rd claw coming out from his inner wrist. And also unlike Wolverine, Daken has pheromone powers, which allows him to manipulate someone's emotional state and sensory perceptions. And he can use it to instill fear, happiness. He can give people a false sense of security. It's been stated by superheroes who fought Daken that it looks like he's either teleporting or moving at superhuman speeds because his pheromones make them feel safe. And then all of a sudden he's stabbing them. And with these powers, Daken has been trained by Romulus for years to be a ruthless killer and also to be conditioned to hate Wolverine for abandoning him and his late mother. Daken joined various villainous groups like the Dark Avengers and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants just to get revenge against his father, and he wouldn't stop until he put Wolverine in the ground. But unfortunately, Daken was put in the ground first. Shortly after his death, Daken is resurrected. This happens a lot in comic books, don't worry about it. And once he was back to life, Daken sat down and thought about his past life and realized, maybe I was doing too much. And he decided to reform himself. Daken would eventually make peace with Wolverine, change his code name into Fang, and then join various superhero teams like X-Factor, the X-Men, and the Marauders. And then once again, he's murdered, but resurrected by a demon who transforms him into Wolverine, which is a Wolverine version of Ghost Rider. This dude is living a crazy life. But now let's talk about Daken's love life, because I love love and I love to talk about it. Now, Daken is bisexual in the comic books, and while most of the relationships that he's had have been more manipulative because he wasn't a good person at first, he did have a couple of healthy, consistent relationships in his stories. Firstly, we have Aurora, who is the sister of Northstar. Remember we did a video on him? But the two of them would be in a relationship while they both served on the Marauder superhero team. And then you have Somnus, who is a mutant that can manipulate people's dreams. One time when Daken had a one-night stand with Somnus, Somnus put Daken in a dream where Daken lived through an entire lifetime with Somnus. Like, they were in a relationship, they got married, and Daken saw Somnus die of old age, and then he woke up the next morning. Daken did fall in love with Somnus after that, but that whole ordeal was just way too trippy, so he dipped. And honestly, that's fair. Though eventually the two of them would get back together and start an official relationship. Not in the dream world. But now it's time for you to leave your answers in the comments below to this random question. Daken is using his pheromone powers to make you feel your most dominant emotion. What emotion are you feeling? Honestly, for me, I feel like I'm a 50-50 split between being super silly and goofy to being just really, really sad. But hopefully with Daken's powers, I feel more goofy. But what do you think of Daken? Where does he rank in your favorite superhero character list? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you missed yesterday's video where I talked about Aqualad, go ahead and click on the box right here, and I'll see you in a bit.